Are we going to do a take 1, 2, and all that? Oh, good. Make me feel like I'm a real movie star.
Yeah, we're the whole package.
This is the incredible story of a man who made a difference.
If you watched him, you got a very special message. He was the face that children needed to see to start their day in a beautiful, positive way. It may not have seemed like much at the time, but he truly made an impact when the world needed him most. I do miss seeing new episodes.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a beautiful day in this beauty wood, a beautiful day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Oh, fuck.
2017 was a difficult year for everyone. Through all the hate and the huge division of ideas throughout America at the time, one guy had the incentive to make us think about how our children would view the world they were growing up in.
You, please, won't you be my neighbor?
It never did help that those were the years when every parent already sick of having children would pass them an iPad or their smartphone just to quiet them down. The technology that everyone has now wasn't even invented yet.
The smartphone era drove us to the obsession, always streaming some sort of content. I mean, it was disgusting. Our faces were always buried and no one ever looked up from their phones. Netflix, of course, was the leading media company at the time. Barely anyone used cable anymore, and the cable companies would fight to try and buy up whatever they could to stay relevant. Yeah, it was a time when the world really needed someone to knock them out of the loop.
Get off that smartphone, go play outside. Get off that smartphone.
He drew their attention in so well, always had fascinating things to show them, and encouraged them to embrace their creative sides. He would share very personal things with the viewers that really made it special.
Have you ever had a kidney stone? I have. It was a big one. Look at that.
It takes guts to put something that personal out there.
That came out of my penis.
Especially when everyone was calling each other snowflakes, like they were in those years.
The story goes, Fred and his wife Sarah filmed a pilot episode in their apartment. They made their own set in honor of previous children's shows similar to it at the time. They submitted their pilot to Netflix headquarters and were granted a contract within weeks.
Tom, the sweater!
It was almost as if Netflix would take any show idea at the time, so it's hard to say if it was a gamble on their part. The producers decided they would utilize the same low-budget approach for the show, giving the viewers an authentic and familiar vibe.
These cute little coasters. They're cats in their little butthole.
It was immediately loved by many, and the first season was to this day the favorite. His overall themes were always to get out of the house and play, and to always love one another despite everyone's differences.
His wife, Sarah, was always portrayed as a live character in make-believe land. She wore the most beautiful dresses, and her voice was so lovely.
Welcome to the land of make-believe.
It was her task to bring a sense of feminine energy to the show and display characteristics of empathy.
Sarah quickly became a hit.
They only give record deals out these days to idiots that go viral on the internet.
Sarah had a dark history before she met Fred. She was one of the most popular self-employed Instagram models of 2017.
She was hot. Oh, but man, you could tell she'd never held a real job in her life.
It was sad to watch looking back at it. Her page just screamed of personal issues, of insecurity, inambition, and a complete reliance on constant attention. Her life made a complete turnaround when she met Fred.
Fred helped Sarah change her act, and soon she agreed to have her tattoos removed. She quickly became a popular part of the show they created together, and she became a beacon of guidance for young female viewers.
They were a good couple. And you'd hear rumors about what went on behind the scenes.
Fuck you, Todd, you're fired.
Sarah's previous experience with depression and anxiety pushed the two to try to help viewers struggling with the same problems. They did this by giving the same advice they had heard from others during their own struggles.
This led them to begin showing how adults would approach more challenging issues, such as anxiety and depression, commonly found among young adults.
And how are you feeling?
Actually, pretty depressed lately. There's just so many problems and I can't tackle all of them.
Have you tried being happy?
It was important to Fred that they accurately portray these emotions on screen, so he did a bit of investigative research.
I had somewhat of a strange relationship with Mr. Rogers. I sought out his help personally for my battles with my own anxieties and depressions, and he actually agreed to meet up to discuss them over coffee with me. He didn't seem to take much interest in what I actually had to say. He did give me this drawing. I think it's supposed to be me. Oh, and this nightlight. It's his face. Then he just took a really close picture of my face, called me a snowflake, and hopped in an Uber and was gone. I didn't see him for a long time after that.
I'm so sad.
Tell me what's the matter. You shouldn't be afraid to talk about the way you feel to others.
Well, I feel sad. And I don't remember the last time that I felt happy.
Well, you should find a way to just get over it. You are in that fun new rock band with your friends. I would think that would make you a very happy young man.
The truth is, I'm just
Yes?
the bass player. And I never get to write any of the songs.
My favorite episode was when Sarah sings to the sad young boy or girl, I couldn't quite tell, but about his failing music career and self-esteem. Oh, that one really got to me.
You and I will be alright in due time. Yes, I believe that we will be the same. And everyone's alright, and everyone will die, and nothing really matters anyway.
The wild success of this episode alone helped them form a close relationship with the music group Persons, Places, Things, which was based out of Ohio.
Got us on our knees. What you and I will be alright in due time.
We actually heard from Mr. Rogers again sometime later. He took interest in our band, Persons, Places, Things. We will be playing the Winchester in Lakewood, July 28th. Tickets are $10. And he wanted to feature us on his show, to which we replied, hell yeah. And we've remained friends, the band and I, with him ever since.
Oh, making famous friends like this helped sell merchandise from the show like hotcakes. They were everywhere in stores. Shirts, ties, cardigans, nightlights to help the children sleep. It was amazing.
Yeah, well, Mr. Rogers changed my life. I never really had a dad growing up, so looking at him on the TV screen was more than enough for me. He was in my home every night, unlike my real dad. So try to get as much memorabilia as possible, gathering it, from the set or on eBay or whatever I can really find. Actually, I got some of the collectibles here. I got the limited edition collectible red felt sweater. And then I also got limited edition tie that goes along with the set to complete it. I've tried to wear these to work sometimes, and I don't get as many questions as you'd think.
While loved by millions across the world, many found irony in the premise of the show itself. Despite its theme of staying away from the television, it ultimately hooked viewers into simply wanting to watch more of it.
The whole point of the show was to get kids off of Netflix and off of their parents' phones. And instead, he created another show that they can obsess over on Netflix. What an asshole.
But every production sees multiple road bumps in its lifetime.
It seemed like the two soaked up the glory of fame, and honestly, they started becoming careless about the content of their own show.
Why are we wasting our time making fun of flat earth believers when there's so many Christians out there who are just as stupid?
It's hard to bounce back from something like that. But that wasn't the only time that the show was criticized for being insensitive.
Where the fuck am I?
If you want to stare at women without getting caught, wear sunglasses.
Man, I would kill someone for a donut right now.
Well, nobody likes a snowflake.
Do you know what a furry is?
Cast and crew came forward and disclosed information about his power-hungry behavior on set.
That's why you should always tell your parents when you've played with matches. Oh, Jesus, fuck.
Oh, come on, Tom.
Tom, you're fucking fired. Listen to me, you're fucking fired.
It sounded like a nightmare.
As an audience, we began to question whether they had just become assholes or if we were just becoming too sensitive as frequent viewers. It makes you reflect on the way you behave when people say certain things. It really makes you wonder if you are too sensitive.
Maybe it was their plan from the beginning. Who knows?
Maybe it's time we put the internet away when interacting with our children. It's time we give them the environment to develop and think for themselves, discover things from their own perspective. Put away Netflix, put away the games, get off that smartphone and go play outside.
The show went on for so many years, and we all watched the man grow up before our eyes. Seeing his face anywhere gave such a familiar feeling as I grew older.
He didn't want people to take life so seriously, and he was always so honest about what was on his mind.
Maybe you can try thinking of a new joke instead of showing memes on your cell phone.
He was a true reminder to love each other.
And there will always be people who love you.
He was a hero.
His goal was to change a few people's lives, but he ended up changing many. I'm sure the children who grew up watching his show grew up to be wonderful people.
I should just kill myself.
True message they wanted to pass on to the world.
Crossing through a lot of towns, and all I've got to say is my mama wouldn't dig a lot of things I did on people that I hung around. I'm back to where I started.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by your knee.